vaccine brands.
Gusto nating malaman kung yung effectivity ng bakuna at saka yung safety ng bakuna, yung pangatlo, ay magiging acceptable.
The COVID-19 downtrend continues except in 4 provinces as government has approved the vaccination of booster shots to priority groups by next month. But can government first speed up the first round of vaccinations? We discuss in this episode of The Chiefs. Welcome to this special edition of The Chiefs. I'm Robbie Alampay. With us online, Ami Pamintuan of the Philippine Star and Ed Lingao joins me here in Mandaluyong. He's from One News. Chiefs, happy
Tuesday.
Wala ako kahapon kaya akala ko start of the week.
Lumalapit na ang Biyernes. Sige.
Ami, anong balita?
Pinabulang namin ngayon, klinaro lang namin fake news po kung nakatanggap kayo ng mga text na meron daw pumanaw na prominent personality na nadulas daw. Hindi totoo, fake news yun.
Okay.
Ganun? Sino yun?
Hindi ko na ko hindi ko na ko sa
Naskopan kami doon sa kuryente.
Huwag na lang natin banggitin. Fake naman Fake naman, baka tayo pa magpakalat. But sa mga totoong balita, ano naman mga totoong balita na binabantayan natin?
Yung sinabi kagabi ni Presidente na sinasabihan yung mga barangay sa LGUs na identify the unvaccinated in your areas of responsibility para nga daw maging malawakan na yung vaccination natin.
In the meantime, people are preparing na it's gonna be a busy week ahead, preparing for UNDAS. Kaya nga po ang una nating guest ngayon to begin tonight with MMDA General Manager Atty. Romando Artes. Good evening, Mr. Artes. Welcome to the Chiefs and welcome to the MMDA also.
Magandang gabi, sir.
Hindi, although matagal na kayo
sa inyong lahat. Magandang gabi po.
Sir, let's start with yung preparations for UNDAS. What are we expecting?
Sa kasalukuyan po, patuloy na umiikot si Chairman Benhur Abalos to ensure po na habang bukas po ang mga sementeryo sa Kalakang, Maynila ay sinusunod po ang mga protocols dahil from now until October 28, bukas po ang ating mga sementeryo. Pero dapat pa rin pong sundin yung ating restrictions under Alert Level 3 tulad po na 30% lamang na capacity ng sementeryo ang pwedeng papasukin. Then starting po ng October 29 to November 2, ang Metro Manila Council po, ang mga mayors po ng lahat ng lungsod sa Kalakang, Maynila ay nagkaisa na ipagbawal po ang pagbubukas ng sementeryo from October 29 to November 2. Lahat po yan, both private and public cemetery po.
Okay.
Although, sir, I was wondering lang kasi sa 29 nga magsasara yung sementeryo, baka naman po 27 and 28 dumagsa yung mga tao dyan para maghabol. Wouldn't it have made sir, just in case, wouldn't it have been better to have spread out yung deluge sa mga tao, including yung 29, 30, 31 and 1, basta lang nasa 30%?
Actually, kaya nga natin in-announce yan ng maaga para po mag-spread out ng tao. Just the same, during the period na open po ang ating sementeryo ng 27 or 28, kailangan pa rin pong sundin yung ating restriction as to the capacity, which is 30%. So, hindi po dapat dumagsa ang mga kababayan natin. At kung mangyari po yan, dapat pong i-restrict ng LGU na only 30% capacity ang pwedeng pumasok.
Sek, one quick question, and I know Ami has a question for you, but one quick question lang to clarify. Pag sinabi natin sementeryo, pati mga kolumbaryon kasama dyan?
Lahat po yan.
Lahat yan, kung saan mabibistahin?
Lahat po, kasama. Yes. Both private and public at lahat po ng uri ng sementeryo. Kasama po yan.
Attorney, may mga entrance naman ng mga sementeryo kaya mukhang madali namang magbilang ng tao ron para to maintain capacities, no? Ang problema yata ngayon, yung Dolomite Beach. Ang initially, sabi ng pulis, ang hirap-hirap daw kontrolin ng crowd. At nagagalit na si Mayor Isko, yung DENR daw. Bakit daw hindi na-control? Ano po ba yung role ng MMDA and what are your rules? Nagbago na ba yung mga rules pagpunta ron?
Actually, ang MMDA po ay sumusuporta lang po sa DNR na siyang namamahala ng Dolomite Beach. Nagpadala po si Chairman Abalos at ang MMDA ng mga traffic enforcers. Una po, to maintain po yung pila. Kasi po, napuna po namin, yun doon po sa ating footbridges, nagkukumpol-kumpol po ang mga tao. So, ang ating po mga enforcers ang nag-control po ng pila doon po sa ating footbridge, papasok at palabas ng Dolomite Beach. At ganoon din po, sa umaga at pagkasara po ng Dolomite Beach, mga tao po ng MMDA ay tumutulong sa paglilinis. Yun lang po ang participation po ng MMDA insofar as Dolomite Beach is concerned.
GM, linawin ko lang yung maganda naman that you're all coordinating, but you're coordinating precisely because iba-ibang ahensya and government units ang involved dito. One that's in the city of Manila, the Dolomite Beach is a project of the DENR. Pero yung kung magta-traffic, magbabara, hahaba yung pila, Ross Boulevard is MMDA. Hindi po ba? So,
Yes,
so sino po ultimately ang accountable? Ultimately, dun sa kinakatakutan natin na baka dumagsa ang mga tao, baka maging super spreader dyan, who ultimately is accountable for that?
Ang in-charge po ng Dolomite Beach ay DNR at tayo po, ang mga tao pong nakadeploy natin ng MMDA sa Dolomite Beach ay nakikipag-ugnayan or nagko-coordinate po sa DNR. So lahat po ng assignments namin doon ay closely coordinated po sa DNR.
Pinaalala din po ng Malacanang na yung mga bata daw hindi pwede except for outdoors except for essential activities. So, in the past days, actually lumalabas sila for recreation So, paanong coordination ang ginagawa nyo ngayon? You have to tighten the rules kasi ang pagkaalam ng mga pwede na sa malls, kahit saan
Actually, sa Thursday po, may meeting ang PWG ng IATF. Isa po sa pag-uusapan yan para linawin po yung rules regarding paglabas po ng mga bata at kung ano lang po yung mga tinatawag na essential goods or services na magiging purpose po ng pwede silang lumabas. Medyo yung sa lumabas po kasi na guidelines, medyo kanya-kanya pong interpretation. Although hindi naman po siya malabo, siyempre po yung iba ginagamit ito para makalabas. So ang gagawin po ng IATF ay lilinawin po ito at hopefully by Thursday po mailabas yung clarification po regarding sa paglabas po ng ating mga minor de edad.
O IATF yan, hindi yung Metro Manila Council. Kasi ang pagkaintindi namin, the mayors
Hindi po.
are already discussing themselves kung ano nga yung rules governing children.
Hindi po. Under the alert level system po natin dito sa COVID restrictions, ang DOH lang po at ang IATF ang pwedeng mag-provide ng rules. At ang role naman po ng MMC or ang Metro Manila Council is ipatupad lang po yung guidelines na ilalabas ng IATF. In fact, napag-usapan po yan kanina at napagkasundoan po na sa Thursday po, i-discuss po yan ng PWG at maglalabas po ng clarification regarding that.
Okay, we're speaking with GM Romando Artes. He's the new GM of MMDA. Attorney Artes, mapunta naman po tayo sa traffic kasi napapansin ko in past days talagang parang ang traffic na ulit no? I'm just wondering if you have the latest data and information. Are we just imagining this or does your data back up what everybody's noticing na parang bumalik na lahat ng tao sa kalsada?
Opo, sa ngayon po halos pre-pandemic level na po ang dami ng sasakyan sa kalsada.
Oh.
Pre-pandemic po nasa 405,000 vehicles a day po ang pumapasok or lumalabas sa Metro Manila. Sa ngayon po, nasa 398 na siya. So around 7,000 na lang
7,000
po
cars na lang.
ang pagkakaiba.
Wow.
Pero ganun pa man po, mas mabilis po ang daloy ng trapiko dahil po pre-pandemic level, 11 kilometers per hour lamang. Sa ngayon po, sa aming datos, it's 23 kilometers per hour.
Wow.
Ito po siguro ay dahil may mga nagbukas po tayong tulay at meron din naman pong skyway na nagbukas. At siguro po malaking naidagdag dyan yung bus carousel po natin na inilipat po natin yung bus from the right side to the left side.
Sir, linawin ko lang, when you say pre-pandemic levels, this is in terms of the actual volume. This is in terms of the actual number of vehicles, hindi
Yes.
yung sa ano. But what you're saying is yung mga na-implement during the pandemic, including the bus rapid system, is more than enough to offset the fact na basically nawalan tayo ng dalawang kalye for private cars, di ba? Nawala yung inside lane, pati yung outside na, well, kalahati ng lane na dedicated niya sa mga bisikleta. So that seems to be working.
Yes, sa tingin po namin, based sa ating datos, mukhang naging effective naman po yung ating bus carousel. Sa sobrang laki po siguro ng buses, isa lang po ang bumalagbag dyan or mangitlog, meaning tumambay para pumick up ng pasahero, ay malaki na po ang epekto sa trapiko. So sa ngayon po, dahil may sarili silang lane, hindi na po siya nakaka-apekto sa general public or doon sa mga ibang sasakyan. So talagang malaki po ang epekto nito at sa tingin po namin effective po yung bus carousel.
Okay, well, that's
insofar as improved traffic.
And that's certainly good news for private cars na dumadaloy dyan. But what's the experience for the much bigger bus riding public?
Mas mabilis po ang biyahe dahil nga po walang traffic ang mga buses. May lane po sila, dire-diretso po. Ang tigil po ay selected stops. Hindi po pwedeng bumabad yung mga buses sa bus stop. So talaga pong mas mabilis. Ang principle naman po ng ating bus carousel is ang i-move po natin ay yung mga tao or yung mga commuters rather than yung cars. Pero as I've said, meron naman pong residual benefit po ito sa may mga kotse dahil bumilis naman po yung takbo ng mga kotse po sa lansangan po natin.
Pero GM, yung bus commuters hindi pa sila apektado nung well, we heard kasi nagkakaproblema dun sa payment sa mga bus carousel contractors eh. So hindi pa sila affected nitong delay dun sa payments?
Sa ngayon po, sa aking pagkakaalam, libre pa po ang paggamit po or pagsakay sa ating bus carousel.
Yes sir, for commuters sir. Yes sir.
Po
We
ay
understand.
under the DOTR.
Yes sir.
So, insofar as the payment system is concerned, parang suspended naman po siya. So,
No,
wala
yung sa
pa pong
contractors
epekto
po.
sa
Yes sir. We're referring to the contractors eh. Kasi eventually dun din babagsak yan dun sa will there be buses plying the route kung hindi na babayaran ng contractors eh. So wala pa namang ganun. But and how are you heading that off yung problema yan? I know that big part of that goes to DOTR pero I suppose meron din kayong
Yung issue po na yan ay siguro mas maganda itanong po natin sa DOTR kasi support lang po kami sa bus carousel.
In the meantime, attorney, nag-ating ka pang MMDA sa mga local politicians no, na mag-coordinate sa inyo kung magmo-motorcade yung mga supporters nila or sila mismo. Ano po yung reaction so far sa inyo?
Ang nire-require lang po natin is roadway private utilization permit. Ito naman po ay nire-require natin para maabisuhan po ang mga tao na may gagawing motorcade or may gagamit na pribado ng ating lansangan para maplano rin naman po ng mga motorista yung kung lalabas sila, iiwasan nilang ruta. Yan po ang dahilan kung bakit nire-require po natin yung permit, nothing else po.
It's a requirement. Wala ba kayong natanggap na reklamo na Baka yung ibang politiko sabihin kinokontrol niyo yung mga movement namin, wala bang ganon?
Wala naman po. Kasi lahat naman po yan, pagbibigyan po natin. Yun lang po, syempre po, we have to have a traffic management plan para po alam natin kung saan dadaan yung motorcade, para ma-advisuhan din po natin yung mga tao na umiwas doon sa ganong lugar. At wag din po sila nang magkasabay-sabay. Syempre po, pag dalawa o tatlong, yung isa nga lang po na motorcade, nag-traffic na, paano pa po kung magkasabay-sabay at magkantsawan, magkaroon po ng hindi magandang pangyayari sa ating lansangan.
GM, balikan ko lang yung sinabi nyo, no? Moving people, not just vehicles. No? So to that end, pinag-usapan na natin yung private motorists, pinag-usapan din natin yung mga bus riding public. Yung mga ano naman, let's also talk about the pedestrians and yung mga nagbibisikleta. Permanent feature na po ba to? I know a lot of this has to do with LGUs also, but permanent feature na po ba tong mga bike lanes natin, especially along EDSA, and ano po ang future plans?
Tingin ko naman po, baka maging permanente na ito. Pero syempre po, ito ay bagong konsepto sa ating lansangan. So patuloy pa rin naman po nating inaaral yung epekto sa trapiko, yung safety, at yung mga iba't iba pang konsiderasyon sa paglalagay ng bike lane po. Particularly sa EDSA na isang major highway. So inaaral po yan. And tingin ko naman po, sa ngayon maganda naman po ang resulta. So in the meantime, dyan po muna ang bike lane at mananatili po yan. At patuloy pa po natin i-improve.
Attorney, may proposal ang DOTR na gawin ng 100% capacity sa mga public utility vehicles. May position po bang MMDA dito?
Ang position po ng MMDA dito ay kung iyan po ay approved ng DOH, susuporta po kami sa recommendation po ng DOTR.
Hindi naman kayo nag-aalala na lalong dadami yung mga PUVs dahil yan ang nirereklamo nila, mababa daw capacity, kaya ayaw nilang lumabas. Pero kapag ganyan, wala capacity.
Depende po yan sa DOTR. Kami naman po ay sumusuporta lamang. Yung mga polisiya po regarding public transportation, yan po ay decision ng DOTR. So kung ano po ang kanilang i-implement ang programa, kami po ay susuporta. At tingin ko naman po, kung ano man pong programa yan, kung magdadagdag ng capacity, yan naman po siguro ay in consultation with DOH at kinonsidera yung safety po ng ating mga pasahero.
May preparation din ba kayo? Kasi mag-uumpisa na daw yung mga pilot and I think it includes some parts of Metro Manila, yung pilot ng face-to-face classes. Meron po ba kayong mga special preparations for this?
Regarding face-to-face classes po, ang aming po participation dyan is i-maintain po yung traffic sa mga eskwelahan na magbubukas para sa face-to-face classes. At sa labas po ng eskwelahan, ay ang ating po mga enforcers din po ay tutulong para po ma-implementa pa rin po yung safety and health protocol sa labas ng mga paaralan. Siyempre po pagdating po sa loob, bahala na po ang DepEd na magpatupad po ng mga safety protocols na yan.
GM, nag-umpisa tayo sa UNDAS. I guess it's not too early also to ask about Christmas. Usually, alam natin, pagdating ng December, talagang dumadagsa yung mga tao. Sabi nyo nga, pre-pandemic levels na ang traffic within Metro Manila. Are we expecting pre-pandemic levels also sa December pagdating ng mga tao sa pagdating natin sa buwan na yan?
Sabi ng Carmageddon, babalik ba?
Sa amin pong palagay, dahil nga po nag-i-ease na ang mga restrictions, maaari pong bumalik na yung pre-pandemic volume po ng mga sasakyan, particularly sa Christmas season. So, naghahanda po tayo dyan, ang MMDA po, sa pangunguna ni Chairman Benhur. Actually, may meeting po kami bukas sa mga mall owners para muli pong i-launch yung programs po natin na wala pong mall-wide sale during weekdays. Ito po ay papayagan lamang during weekdays and holidays. Yung delivery po ng mga um, paninda sa mga malls ay gagawin lamang po paggabi at ang opening po ng malls ay 11 a.m. ang start at pakikiusapan po natin na i-extend hanggang gabi para hindi po sabay-sabay pumasok at lumabas ng Metro Manila ang mga ano at may makapag-shopping pa po ng extended.
Sir,
Yung Metro Manila Film Festival, gusto niya daw matuloy. Kailan po kayo magdidesisyon kung matutuloy yan? Kasi siyempre, yung mga producer maghahanda din ng mga ano nila, entries nila.
Actually, tuloy-tuloy po yung preparasyon natin sa Metro Manila Film Festival. In fact, marami na pong nag-submit ng entries. Ang deadline po kasi ng submission ay October 31. Then, yan po ay papanoorin ng ating selection committee at hopefully around second week of November, maiilabas na po natin yung 8 official entries. Tuloy-tuloy po ang preparation natin. In fact, sa November 10 po, I understand marami na pong sinihan ang magpupukas. Siyempre po with the safety protocols po na inilatag ng IATF sa seating capacity, ventilation, and all. And hopefully po habang bumababa ang kaso ng COVID sa Kalakang, Maynila, ay mag-increase pa po ito hanggang po siguro sa mas marami-raming capacity pagdating ng Kapaskuhan. So we're really looking at MMFF being shown in cinemas po in December.
Pero GM, merong mga entries. Because siyempre, yun din yung isang tanong ng mga tao, di ba? Meron bang sining ipapalabas? And dito sa mga entry, paano nangyari yun? So these were shot during the pandemic, before the pandemic?
Meron pong mga kinunan sa before pandemic. In fact, may letter of intent na po yung, if you will remember, noong June po, before the pandemic, dapat po merong summer Metro Manila Film Festival. Meron pong dalawang napili doon na dating entries na nag-signify na po na ipapasok po nilang muli dito sa December 2021 edition po ng MMFF. Yung iba naman po, shooting during pandemic, nagbabubble po sila or nag-shooting po sila doon sa mga lugar na under GCQ at that time.
Sir Pablo lang, before we let you go, I suppose kasi maraming magugulat dun sa sinabi niyo na 7,000 cars lang ang difference between pre-pandemic and now, considering we're still at alert level 3. What do you think accounts for this? Bakit ang daming kotse? Alert level 3 pa rin tayo. 7,000 cars is a small amount. A small difference.
Yes, epektor po siguro ito ng pagbubukas ng ekonomiya. Under alert level 3 po kasi may mga industriya or industriya na mga binuksan at since nag-ease po ang restrictions, marami rin pong nag-take ng opportunity para gawin yung mga hindi nila nagagawa under more restrictive
So
alert
humahabol.
level po.
Humahabol. Which brings me to my real question. Anong possibility na i-reimpose yung number coding system sa EDSA, for example?
Patuloy pong inaaral yan. Inutos na po yan ni Chairman Benhur na aralin ng aming Traffic Engineering Center. Pero hindi pa po inclined na ibalik ang number coding scheme kasi po hindi pa naman po normal ang ating pampublikong transport. So baka po manatiling suspendido po yung number coding scheme.
Okay, MMDA General Manager Atty. Romando Artes. Maraming salamat po, GM.
Ingat, sir.
Ingat po.
Salamat at magandang gabi po.
We'll need to take a break. Please stay with us. The Chiefs will be right back.
Welcome back to the Chiefs here on One News, and now joining us is FDA Director General Dr. Eric Domingo. Yusek Domingo, sir, magandang gabi and welcome back to the Chiefs. Medyo long time, no see?
Hi,
Good evening, Doc.
Oh, medyo busy eh. Maraming trabaho lagi. Hi, Annie. Hi, Ed. Hi, Rocky.
Yes, sir. Well, always good to have you on board. Sir, I'll start off with the booster shots. Kasi pinag-uusapan yung booster shots, especially for the medical frontliners and those with comorbidities. Ano lang po inihintay natin? Kasi as far as we heard, the latest we heard, Secretary Duque was already pushing for booster shots for medical frontliners, I think before the end of the year, by December. But on the other hand, ng DOST naman, sinasabi nila they're still doing their mixing and matching testing na magkakaroon pala initial report by next year. So, I don't know kung ano mauunan dyan. Pero from your end, what about the FDA?
Well, we're going to take a look at the data. No? So, finally, yesterday, the Department of Health sent me a letter asking for an amendment dun sa EUA ng mga vaccines natin. So, kino-collect namin lahat ng data ngayon on third dose, whether homologous meaning the same vaccine or heterologous meaning different vaccine for the third dose, to see which would have acceptable safety and efficacy levels na maaari natin gamitin for our health workers and yung mga high-risk groups na kailangan dagdagan.
Sir, linawin ko lang, humihingi ang DOH ng EUA for any may particular brand na bang binanggit? Kasi ang alam namin, mga 4 pa lang yata yung approved sa ibang bansa, no?
Yeah, parang pinakyaw nila yung letter. All of the possible combinations. So we're taking a look now at about maybe 8 possible combinations of either the same vaccine or another vaccine for the third dose.
Yun for third dose and booster. Third dose and booster.
Yes, oo. Kasi parang very difficult to distinguish. Yung third dose is parang it's the same vaccine, then you give a third dose as really part of the primary regimen. So that's one of the possibilities. Pero sabay na rin nila nga pinapa-examine yung booster using another vaccine.
Sir, whatever the formulation here, is there added urgency given that many people, including frontliners, are getting past their 6th month since their second dose? Kasi we've been speaking with a lot of experts saying na yun talaga you start counting from your second dose, and the data seems to suggest that by the 6th month, dapat medyo nagbo-booster ka na. Is that adding any urgency for us?
Well, yes, no, kasi historically, there really are vaccines na ang original dose nila is 0, 1 month, and then 6 months. No? Like the hepatitis vaccine, for example. Talagang ganun yung schedule. We have to remember when we developed the vaccines early on, nagmamadali yan eh. Kaya 0 and then 1 month, tapos tinitingnan na kung nag-e-effect. So, kung binabantayan natin yan, kung dumadami yung mga breakthrough infections, no? Tinitignan natin kasi ayaw nating umabot doon, and then if we need to give a booster before that, we have to. But yung kailangan din kasi nating i-balance, Rob, yung urgency ng giving that third dose to a group of people, and at the same time knowing that there's 70% of the Filipinos have not received a single dose yet. Na importante rin naman kasi na maikalat natin yung vaccines para mapababa talaga yung spread ng virus within the country.
Ay malinaw naman po pa rin yung priority as you said, but we ask also maybe as part of still trying to frame how people should behave, 'di ba? Kahit naka-second dose na sila, mahalaga pa rin dapat lalong-lalo na if you're getting past your 6 months, ingat pa rin tayo. I just want to ask, does the data say anything about that? Doon po sa mga breakthrough infections na nabanggit nyo, how much of that are people who've gotten their second dose but are now past the 6 month mark?
Yeah, well, in the country, for example, kasi we're monitoring, the FDA is monitoring, and we're getting, of course, we always expected to get breakthrough infections, wala namang 100 efficacy. So far, yung 3rd, 4th, and 5th month, hindi naman dumadami, tumataas yung rate ng breakthrough infections. However, in some countries, they've noticed that after the 6th month, there might be an increase in that. So, ang pinag-aaralan natin ngayon, if we give boosters, kung sino yung bibigyan. No? So, unang-una, iniisip yung healthcare workers who are really exposed to the virus day in, day out. And then second, yung mga senior citizen. Kasi sila yung baka from the very beginning, we're not able to mount an immune response as strong as, for example, a 30 or 40-year-old. So we're probably going to prioritize some groups.
Okay.
So how soon can you come up with a decision on the boosters?
Yes, sir.
And
Ano? Timetable po natin.
Meron na ba?
Yeah, so I got the letter yesterday, and then I'm looking through it, and of course the experts. I sent it to the experts also today. So binibigyan ko naman sila ng 1 week, 1 week to take a look at it and give the recommendations, because medyo masalimuot napakamaraming separate studies, and they're small studies. It's not like the original EUAs where we gave, it's based on clinical trials of 20,000, 30,000 people. The mix and match studies, the third dose studies are smaller. These are like 300, 400 people. Tapos iba-iba yung setting. So we just have to take a look at everything and then make some decisions.
Pero mas madali siya ngayon, di ba? Dahil even the companies, the pharma, big pharma themselves, sila mismo nagsasabi that their doses will need booster or third dose after a certain period. Sila na yung nagsasabi, di ba? Yung mga studies.
Yeah, kaya lang kasi madali namang sabihin yon dahil makakabenta ka rin ng bakuna pag kailangan. So, I'm very careful when I hear statement like that. Kailangan mabasa ko yung papel. And like I said, yung basis nila ng mga statements, it's a lot smaller na mga trials compared to the original trials. Kaya mas maingat lang tayo ng konti.
Sir, what are we watching out for? O kumbaga, ano yung determining or determinant doon sa decision making natin? Is it yung level of efficacy to be given by a booster shot or a third dose, or yung if at all any possible danger when you get a third dose from a different vaccine?
Yeah, well, number one is always safety. Siyempre, meron ka nang adverse events na possible when you get a first dose, second dose. Yung third dose, dapat walang additional, di ba? Titingnan natin kung walang safety problems, especially if you're crossing over to another brand. So the safety profile is the first thing. You have to make sure that very minimal, or nothing unusual yung mga possible side effects. And then second, talaga yung efficacy. Kung may madadagdag ba siya na value to the people who are at highest risk of getting severe COVID and then dying from COVID.
But sir, is there any significant study? Is there any study or any observation that gives some sort of indication of significant dangers when applying a third dose? Anything to be worried about, in other words?
Yeah. So far, actually, wala. They look pretty safe, even crossing over. Kaya lang, like I said, the studies have been done on 200, 300 people.
Yeah.
You don't see rare side effects when you only have 200, 300.
Yeah.
You always see this when you have 10,000, 20,000 people in a trial. So, ito yung sabi ko na kaya parang nag-iingat tayo kasi gusto natin makita and then put these small studies together and see kung talagang walang safety signals.
I mean, Yusek, let's talk about other things naman. Hindi sa vaccines, but everybody's talking about Merck's molnupiravir. Potential prophylactic effects, potential for treatment. Some people are excited. Some people would say we're intrigued, we're interested, we're looking into it. Where do we stand right now on molnupiravir as far as you understand its effectivity and safety?
Well, it's very interesting for several reasons. Number one, yung mga gamot na unang naririnig natin dati, 'di ba, sila remdesivir, tocilizumab, baricitinib. These are for patients who have severe COVID, yung mga critical COVID. So wala tayong mga gamot dati for mga people with mild to moderate COVID. So yung molnupiravir is a medicine given to people who have mild to moderate COVID that will prevent in about 50% of people who take it, prevent it from into developing into severe COVID and possibly dying from COVID. So yun yung isang magandang advantage na you give it in mild disease and moderate disease at makikita may effect. And second, oral. It's a pill. Hindi siya IV. Lahat ng ibang gamot previous to this are intravenous. This is oral. So if you get it, you can go see your doctor. They give you these 10 pills you take for 5 days. you go home and then take it there. So meron talaga siyang possible value. Yung early studies are very encouraging, and hopefully once the studies are completed, it will be registered and then available commercially.
But then we're then back to the same dilemma, well, similar dilemma as we had nung nag-uumpisa pa lang yung mga experimental candidate vaccines pa lang, yung tawag natin doon, di ba? This is a candidate drug that people are looking at. But the dilemma was, when do we place our order? Kailan tayo pipila? When do we get our number sa queue? Do we wait for everything to be clear? Or in the meantime, we also take some risk in trying to get in line? I'm reading the news. Indonesia says we're getting ready to place advanced orders as well. Tayo, paano po tayo dapat pumosisyon dito?
Well, for me, personally, I think maaari naman na mag-order. Lahat naman ng countries na yan, Robbie, when they order, sa contract, meron naman yung requirement na the product has to pass the regulatory requirements of the country. Otherwise, hindi mo babayaran. No? So, I think, if we look forward and if we can afford it, the drug, then maybe it might be a good idea to start pre-placing orders and then with conditions just to protect our interests.
In the meantime, Doc, nag-umpisa na yung vaccination of minors. Are you monitoring it, and have you recorded any adverse events? Halimbawa, yung sa heart problems, for example, na na-report nga sa ibang bansa.
Yeah. The DOH is being extra careful dito sa rollout. In fact, I think we've only done, as of yesterday, parang 10,000 children, and we're doing it in hospitals, hindi sa mga vaccination centers. Kasi nga parang nag-try natin na parang pilot muna na roll out and see if everything goes well. So far, wala pa naman tayong report ng adverse events, especially nothing serious. The more common, mild lang na pain in the injection site, mga konting pagbibigat ng katawan, pero nothing severe. Yung kasing yung myocarditis, pericarditis, it's really very, very rare. No? So usually, these are the adverse events that we see once we've already vaccinated millions of people, or at least hundreds of thousands. But so far, yung experience ng DOH, tinatanong ko sa kanila everyday, very encouraging, and it's very well tolerated in children.
Merong proposal na alisin daw yung mga bata sa hospital kasi yung breeding ground daw yun ng mga pathogens. I-vaccinate na lang daw sila sa regular vaccination site dahil open and safer. What do you say to that proposal?
Yeah, I think in the end it would have to go down to the vaccination centers. I believe the program is just being extra careful kasi nga mga bata itong babakunahan. Actually tayo lang naman, yata Pilipinas lang ang alam ko nagbabakuna sa ospital, pero kasi kahit naman doon sa adults nung una sa major hospitals lang para titingnan natin kung magkaka-severe allergy, di ba, kung may kailangan ma-admit for hypertension. But once they get used to it and you see that there's nothing naman to be alarmed about, I'm sure it will start moving into the community centers kasi otherwise we won't be able to vaccinate all the children, Yung 12 to 17-year-olds, mga mga siguro 12 million children yon. If they have to go to the hospital, hindi natin sila matatapos lahat.
The numbers have been going down in the past couple of weeks. Are you confident na dire-diretso to? We do take note that you did mention recently some concerns over 4 regions na pababa pa rin pero parang bumabagal yung pagbaba ng numbers. Mimaropa, Bicol, Central Visayas, Eastern Visayas. How do you feel about the trends both on a national level and then also breaking it down on the experiences of different regions?
Well, all indications show that it will continue to go down, and it will probably level off to maybe at a 1,000 to 2,000 level per day na cases. Kasi yun naman yung natural history niya. Magda-drop sa atin, tapos medyo pabagal ng konti yung pagda-drop. And then you have this parang background number of cases that will be occurring regularly. Yun nga lang, those 5 regions we're just watching kasi medyo mas mabagal ng konti. Ang ayaw natin kasi yung bumaliktad, yung biglang babagal yung slowing down tapos biglang tataas. So it just means that we have to just maybe identify the cases a little earlier and then isolate them and then just make sure that the transmission is stopped. But with everything, with the predictions that we're seeing from the past and then what's happening now, mukhang consistent naman lahat that it will continue to go down and probably level off maybe in a few weeks or months.
Pero in the meantime po, wala naman tayong binabantayan na bagong variants of interest or concern, because some researchers also noted that na a lot of all the previous surges were also tied to new variants coming up. Wala naman po tayong nakikitang ganyan in the horizon.
Sa ngayon, yung bagong Delta subvariant, mukhang hindi naman siya. It's not really of concern yet, no, within the international community, at wala pa rin naman dito. At saka yung dati naman kasi nung dumating yung Delta variant, nung dumating siya parang 5%, siguro 3% of the population was vaccinated, no? Kaya ang bilis niyang makatake ng foothold because we started vaccinating March, April, and then it started in June, no? So, pero ngayon naman, medyo tumataas na yung ating vaccination rate, especially in the big cities. But you know what, now that it's going down, it's really the best time to make this as an opportunity to vaccinate as many people as we can. Kasi habang nakakagalaw tayo, habang medyo maluwag at hindi takot ang mga tao na lumabas, it would be a good time to start vaccinating as many people as possible.
Balikan ko lang yung minors vaccination. Sa nakikita niyong reaction ng mga bata dun sa vaccines, you think it's really safe na to resume in-person classes? Doon lang naman sa mga low-risk areas.
Well, actually yung mga bata kasi low risk naman talaga sila even for COVID, no? Or getting severe COVID. So once a good number of them are really vaccinated and their teachers, yung mga teachers ang mas nakakatakot kasi sila yung yung pwedeng magkaroon ng severe, the older ones. At saka yung mga naiiwan sa bahay na pag-uwi ng bata, pwede siyang mag-uwi ng COVID. No? So if a good number of kids are vaccinated, then I think it would be safe to start opening the schools again kasi ang dami na nating kailangang balansehin. Hirap na yung mga bata, talagang even the mental health of the children is suffering. They don't even know what going to school is anymore and seeing other children and interacting. And we will have to open it up eventually, no? But we should vaccinate a good number of them before that.
Yung good number, 100% ba? Halimbawa, yung particular yung mga bata, kailangan ba 100%? Well, of course, yung iba may sakit Yeah, but yung mga pupunta doon for in-person classes, gusto niyo ba 100% vaccinated yung bata?
Ang hinahabol naman natin kasi siguro at least 80 to 90%. No? I mean, hindi talaga tayo makakakuha ng 100%. Meron talagang hindi pwedeng bakunahan due to some illness, for example, or allergies, or meron talagang batang ayaw talagang pumayag ng magulang. No? But when you get 80%, 90%, that would be a good number.
Sir, kambi lang po ako. Yung ivermectin trials will begin in November under the DOST. At least yung recruitment nila will begin in November. But previous to that, I do remember FDA has been pretty consistent in warning against the use of ivermectin. I'm wondering lang, wala bang mixed messaging here? I know it's going to be a trial pa lang, pero at the same time, the fact that we're going into this, doesn't that send a message to those already using ivermectin now, even though it's not yet approved?
Well, sabi nga natin, wala naman kasi talagang data to support its use in the prevention or treatment of COVID-19. In fact, the longer it happens, kasi ang dami namang trial na nangyari all over the world at kung kasi talagang mapuprove yan, dapat ngayon nakita na na meron na talagang data. And until now, wala pa rin talagang clear data. So, yun kasing DOST, dapat yun una, originally plan nila, I think, was to start in July. And then delay. It's always good naman to be able to contribute to knowledge, and to the world literature and add data. And we said naman always na don't use it unless it's in a clinical trial that's well controlled. So, meron pa rin naman mako-contribute yan na data. Na since very equivocal, sabing siya, wala pa rin magsasabing hindi siya makakatulong. So, meron pa rin naman pong magiging value yan kapag nagkaroon tayo ng isang pag-aaral.
Yusek, still on vaccines, not on the science, efficacy, and safety, but just on the supply. With what you know, and going into 2022, what's going to be the supply situation? Lalo-lalo na, we're now looking at boosters, not necessarily first and second doses, and medyo rumarampa na rin yung production ng mga companies and countries that produce vaccines. But what do you anticipate in terms of the pipeline by 2022?
Well, I think for our orders this year, by this week we'll be able to get at least 100 million na deliveries, no? And they're expecting another maybe 40 million until the end of the year. So that's quite a good number, no? 140 million. Pero next year, I don't think it's good. The supply side is not going to be as easy as we thought it would be. Yung 2022, most of the big manufacturers, pa rin medyo nakakompromiso pa rin yan doon sa mayayaman na mga bansa. Hindi pa rin nakaka-ramp up ng ganun kabilis. Akala kasi natin by 2022 talagang mas maraming factories na ang mabubuksan nila, no? But there have been new, no, because they apply to us every time na may bagong factory ang each and every vaccine, ipaparegister yan sa amin. So meron naman pa isa-dalawa na mga bagong factory bawat vaccine. Pero hindi yung 10 factories, no? Hindi yung 20, which we thought would happen. So I think in 2022 the supply is still going to be tight, particularly for the Western vaccines na talagang medyo committed pa rin sila na mag-supply dun sa mga Western countries.
Well, let's assume supply is not an issue and that we could import as much as we can. What are the remaining issues for rolling out vaccines for the rest of the country?
Well, I think the supply chain naman natin is working quite well. It's still the logistics of the ultra low temperature vaccines. Yun pa rin talaga ang major limitation natin for the mRNA vaccines. For example, hindi pa rin naman wala pa rin naman tayong -70 degrees in every city or municipality. So, nalilimit pa rin yung possible na vaccine na dalhin sa kanila na hindi masisira at magagamit. And of course, ang isang magiging complication, I mean, I would call it a complication, maybe development in 2022 is magkakaroon na probably ng fully registered or fully approved product. And when that happens, syempre kung meron ka ng fully proven na na-complete na, mahirap nang gumamit ng under emergency use authorization na ibang bakuna. Di ba? Kasi meron ka nang alam na isa na sigurado na na-complete na yung trial niya. Ayaw na nating gumamit masyado ng mga EUA and we phase out the EUAs. So yung problem nun, kung isa lang ang fully approved or isa or dalawa lang. What we hope is of course that next year lahat sila sunod-sunod na mako-complete yung trials nila and they get full approval so that we also get a wide range of choices.
Sir, linawin ko lang yung dilemma doon. So you're saying if there's a drug that emerges from the complete process and it completely gets 100% approval, it sort of diminishes the moral standing to stand on EUAs for all the other vaccines. Therefore, that might create the irony of a fully approved drug actually tightening supply?
Yes, but not just morally, legally, in every country. You only allow EUAs when there is no fully approved product.
Wow.
So once merong mga fully approved product, hindi ka natatanggap ng applications for EUA and then yung mga existing EUA, na lang yan, 1 year na lang yan to consume, to phase out. Kailangan magmadali na rin silang magpa-register.
It completely hinges on the approval. It doesn't hinge on one's ability to actually supply everything that we need.
Well, of course, pag nakita naman natin, halimbawa, isa lang talaga yung nag-apply, tapos hindi naman siya makakasupply ng mga lahat, then we can continue the emergency use authorizations. Kaya lang, di ba, parang hindi naman na, alam mo nang meron ng isang fully developed So, it makes a difference in the way you will handle. Paano ka magpapagbabakuna ngayon? Di ba? Yung ibabakuna mo, yung fully approved, available sa private, sa mga magbabayad, tapos yung libre, EUA yung ginagamit mo na hindi pa fully developed product. So, it does make complications.
Doktor, pahabo lang. Kasi yung mga naunang batches of people na nabakunahan, nag-aalala sila ngayon na nag-fade na yung efficacy ng vaccines nila. How worried should they be? Kasi mukhang hindi pa naman agad-agad maro-roll out yung third shots and boosters.
Yeah, don't worry, no. Ako yung pinakauna, no. March 1 and March 28, aking vaccine first day. So, and nakakatulog naman ako knowing that I'm protected, and I see it naman. I know people around me who have gotten sick at ako hindi naman tinatamaan ng COVID, and I know co-workers in the hospital, for example, in PGH, meron mang nagka-breakthrough sa amin, may nagka-COVID. Pero wala nang namatay since nag-start tayo ng mga vaccination. Hindi katulad dati na araw-araw may namamatay kaming kasamang doktor, nurse, di ba? Mga NA. Ngayon, kung meron na magkasakit, mild na lang. So, yung 6-7 months, wala pa namang biglang magdadrop yun at biglang tayo.
Pero tama yung point nyo. No? Kayo nga, nauna kayo doon. So, kayo marker namin. We're pegging all our counts on you. But, ano sa inyo? Then, anong gagawin mo sa Pasko? Let's take it from that. Kasi I'll follow your cue. Anong gagawin niyo sa Pasko? On the one hand, government is saying, looks like we're gonna have a Merry Christmas. People can start planning for family reunions, socially distance pa rin, kahit sa loob ng bahay. At the same time, people are also now being told, be conscious, kailan yung 6 months mark mo. And so on. Baka lumampas na ako nung 6 months, nung October. So kayo, in particular, anong plano niyo sa Pasko?
Sorry, amigo.
Mag-isolate ba kayo?
Magpapagrab delivery na lang siya ng ano.
Ako, once I get out of this room, I wear a mask. And I only remove it when I try not to eat as the same time as anybody else in family or at the office. Talagang nag-iingat ako. Hindi pa nakikita ng mga magulang ko yung mukha ko for the past 3 months. No? When I see them, I wear a mask. Because I go to work, I don't want to infect them. So, I think I will do it through Christmas.
But may Noche Buena kayo, magsasama-sama kayong pamilya. I mean, yung mga ganyan na bagay na it's a real dilemma for all families.
Kung makita talaga natin na mababa na yung cases sa Metro Manila, it might be comfortable. But otherwise, I go to the Lanay and eat there. Kasi I'm the one who goes out eh. Lahat sila nasa bahay eh. So, I will not let them guard down. No.
Sa bagay, kami rin eh. We appreciate you pero hindi namin kayo imbitahin sa bahay namin eh.
Bok, pasigit lang sa... Doc, hindi ako sigurado kasi kung sa bakuran ninyo ito eh. Pero I do remember na one of the criticisms against government for this year was medyo delayed yung pag-order ng mga bakuna for this year. I'm wondering lang if we've already put in orders for next year for the boosters. Hindi lang yung boosters, siyempre, pati yung mga hindi pa nababakunahan. Pero di ba, next year we should be going into booster shots already. And have we been able to place our orders already or pati doon naantala pa rin tayo?
Yeah, from what I know naman, I see like sila Secretary Galvez, yung mga nag-procure. Kaya rin sila nagmamadali na magkaroon tayo ng policy on boosters and third doses because they want to factor it in their orders for next year. So pinaghahandaan naman talaga at talagang yung 2022 na orders ngayon piniplace na nila. Kaya tinitingnan na, kaya gusto na natin malaman kung ano yung pwedeng mix and match, kung ano yung kailangan talaga ng third dose, and how many more people we're going to vaccinate next year. So they are already placing orders now for 2020.
So you mean they've placed orders for the boosters already kahit wala pang approvals from the FDA? I mean, wala pang findings from the FDA?
Well, hindi pa naman yung kung possible third dose. Alam ko, nandun na sa mga computation nila yon.
Okay.
FDA Director General Eric Domingo. Sir, maraming salamat po.
Ingat, sir.
Thank you.
Maraming salamat din.
Ingat po. That will be all for this edition of The Chiefs. We hope what was discussed here will keep the conversation going. Before we go, a reminder to everyone. Mask on, wash hands, stay safe. Philippines, if you can get vaccinated, get vaccinated. I'm Robbie Alampay.
I'm Ami Paminton of the Philippine Star.
I'm Ed Lingao and we are One News.